Hi everyone, welcome. FPLMattDay here, and this is my Game Week 30 live deadline stream. Before you start, if you can please get your questions in the comments, give the video a like, and subscribe to the channel if this is the first time you are watching as well. So deadline is approaching. We're about 42 minutes away right now from deadline as well. So like I mentioned before, get all your questions in ready for that. I'll do the usual. I'll go through each fixture, give a score prediction, but pick my best and favorite fantasy players from this week's fixtures as well. We are coming off an international break. Still waiting on injury news for the likes of Saka. It's all about whether or not he trains today for Arsenal or not. He's probably one of the key ones. Honestly, I think it's just my games from Arteta, and he will be fine to play. Another key one was Darwin Núñez, but Jurgen Klopp has already said he will be fine and he should be all good to play against Brighton in this weekend's game. But what we'll do, as I mentioned before, we will answer any questions that come in. But in the meantime, we'll share screen and we'll take a look at the fixtures. So let's just bring up the latest fixtures, which is starting off with this early kickoff. And we'll just zoom in a little bit here. And the first game for Game Week 30 is Newcastle versus West Ham this week. Early kickoff, going to be a good fixture, this one. I'm looking forward to it. Definitely probably would be focusing more on the likes of Isak from Newcastle. I think for this week's a really, really good pick. I played Dubravka over Areola as well this week. I think Isak's probably sort of the pick from this one that I would go with. I think he's a good transfer. He got a double-digit score in this game last time as well. So for me, he is the FPL asset to watch. I've transferred out Bowen from my team this week, and it would not put it past me if this ends up being the game that he actually scores a goal in, which would be disappointing. But I think Newcastle will win this one. So I'll go with 2-1 Newcastle and Isak to get on the score sheet. But I can see some questions and comments have come in, which is awesome. So keep them coming in. Subscribe if you're new. Give the video a like as well. Remember, we are 39 minutes till deadline. Sam, welcome to the stream, mate. Foden or Richarlison on wildcard, and start one of them two or Saka. It's really tricky this week with Richarlison because he is fit, he's trained, and he was obviously on form, for a long time. He was scoring most weeks. Then Son come back in the team. He did get a little bit of a niggle, miss that game against Fulham. Does he come back into the front three tonight today with Son, Kulusevski, Brennan Johnson showing some form? Werner's been very good in the home games for Spurs lately. It's a tricky one. I think if he does come into the side, it will put a lot of people off captaining Son as opposed to, say, someone like Salah. But for me, on a wild card, I'd still shy away from Richarlison. I'd say Foden if you're gonna pick one of the two. Probably going to see some rotation from City over the coming weeks, obviously with Champions League, FA Cup, that type of thing. But I just think his form's been unbelievable in the second half of the season. I know Richarlison's has, but I think if you can get a City player in for this brief run of games coming up, especially with the Palace away and the Luton game as well, and he performs well at the Etihad. He's got Arsenal at home this week. So I'd probably say Foden, and I would start him over Saka if that was my choice. But you've got to have Saka on wildcard because Arsenal double in 34 and they've got a good fixture next week as well. But best of luck with your decision. PSB, welcome to the stream, mate. Great to see you in the comments as well, mate. And it's great to be back on a live deadline stream. It's obviously been a while. We had a break. I think I did do a deadline stream for the blank game week, and then I was missing out on a few deadline streams before that, and kind of just been focusing on more shorts and videos. So great to see some of the usuals in the comments. So keep your questions coming in. Jared Robson, he is on wildcard this week. Which are the optimum three forwards? I keep switching between Darwin, Solanke, as this will allow me to have Van Dijk. I do like Darwin. He's obviously got double game weeks coming up. He is 2 bookings away from a suspension. So I think if he can avoid a yellow card this week, then I think he'll probably be good to go for the double game week 34. And obviously Liverpool's good fixture in game week 31. But it is typical FPL of someone like Darwin Núñez wants to get a booking over the next couple of weeks and then misses 34. But I think Darwin, Solanke having that double game week 34 as well. And a player that I'm really liking, I think Muniz from Fulham on absolute fire. Sheffield United away this game week. If you're looking at a third cheap striker, you've got to get him in because that will allow you to have Van Dijk because he's the cheapest of the cheapest and he's on form. If you want another option, you could go with Semenyo from Bournemouth. Also doubles in game week 34. We saw what he did in the last double game week. So he could be a really good option as well. Also, though, one thing I will say is you might need room on a wild card to bring Haaland in with the Luton game at home in, I think it's game week 33 that they have when the Palace won in 32. So you then might need to reverse back to Darwin. So it's a tricky one with that in mind. PSB, Cunha or Sarabia, the better Wolves asset, mate. For me, Cunha, if I'm picking between the two. But again, it depends how you want to play your 3 forwards. But yeah, I think Cunha, again, like he's not fully fit right now. I know he's come back to training. I guess he's not match fit, but he should be by game week 34, which for me, and he's the number 1 forward for Wolves when he's fit. So for me, it puts him just above Sarabia. But if you get into game week 34 and you've already stacked up all your forwards, then Sarabia is not a bad sort of 5th midfielder option. Although I do have a slight preference if you can get Eze as that 5th midfielder option for 34, and then a third striker being like a Cunha or a Semenyo. In my thoughts, mate. But yeah, really good picks. We've got some good watchers as well on X or Twitter, whatever you call it these days. So if you are watching this on Twitter, please retweet the stream. Give the post a like. Come onto the YouTube at FPLMattDay. Subscribe and ask a question as well. It's really appreciated if you can jump into these streams. Christian, welcome to the stream, mate. Hope all is well. Yeah, I think that's fair enough, mate, if you're leaving your team as it is. But if you can't see straight, mate, I'd like to know why in the comments. So let me know. I hope everything is okay, mate. And you too, mate. Have a good weekend. Good luck. Best of luck with what choice you decide to make. We'll wait for some more questions and comments. I'm just going to quickly move the mic for a second and I'm going to zoom in on these fixtures a bit better. Okay, that's a bit better now. So we've gone through the Newcastle game. Let's do Bournemouth versus Everton. For me, Solanke owners, I'd be keeping him. Good fixture at home. Also doubles in 34. Everton, the likes of Braithwaite, Pickford. There's still options you're probably going to want to keep as well with them doubling in 34. Tricky double with Liverpool being one of the two. But Forest at home is one of the others. So they're players that you probably don't want to sell. So they're the key assets for me from Bournemouth, Solanke, Semenyo. I really like them as well. I know they've got some options in defence that have been scoring and getting the odd assist, but again, not as keen on their clean sheet potential. I can see this game being 2-1 either way, but I'll go 2-1 Bournemouth and I'll back Solanke, the GOAT, to come out with a couple of goals in this one. So 2-1 to Bournemouth. Sam has just asked if we can look at his team. Of course, mate. Put it in the chat and we will take a look at your team. Let's scroll up then. We've got Chelsea versus Burnley. And the big thing about this game for me is Chelsea obviously have Cole Palmer. And a lot of people aren't really, talking about him as captain. They're all talking about Salah and Son. But Cole Palmer in these types of games, he's coming out with double-digit scores. He's so consistent for Chelsea. I think they'll win this game. I'm going to go 2-1 to Chelsea. I think they'll take a 2-0 lead. Burnley will score late, and make a game of it because they've they play their football. Even obviously they're in that sort of bottom three. But I think Cole Palmer is a good pick. I think Gusto is going to be an interesting pick for Chelsea in this one with his attacking potential as well. And if you've got your captain's armband on Cole Palmer, I think he is a very good captain shout this week. I'll put him as number 3 for captain out of the top 3. Again, probably could be higher. I think like everyone says, if he was priced at 10 or 11 million as a midfielder, a lot of people would be captaining him this week for this fixture, but people do get put off by his price point. Christian just saying he'll bench boost in 37 and triple captain in 38. Unfortunately, he can't see straight because of work. He's picked up an illness, which I'm really sorry to hear, mate. So I hope you get better soon. And I like the idea of bench boosting in 37. If you can triple captain in 34, I think it could be a good bet, especially on someone like Salah. So Sam's got his wild card here, so we'll go through that in a second. I'm just going to scroll up on the fixtures. We'll quickly do Nottingham Forest Palace because it's not a big one to cover for Forest, unless you've got players from the blank game week 29 still in your side, like a Gibbs White. Then I probably wouldn't be targeting any Forest players this week. Palace, different story. If you're looking at bringing in someone like Eze, could be a really good differential for this week, and then you can keep him up until game week 34. Where Palace have 2 games. And there is a few other options. You've got Anderson as well in defence. There's an injury to Johnston, so we might see someone like Dean Henderson becoming an option in goal for Palace as well. So a bit more potential in Palace as opposed to Nottingham Forest this week, in my opinion. But before we go through the next few fixtures, we'll bring up this wild card here from Sam. So he's gone with Petrovic from Chelsea and Dubravka as his keepers. I think they're good picks. Dubravka is going to double in game week 37, very likely. Petrovic is going to double in that game week as well. He's also going to potentially double in either 36 or 35. So he's got a lot of doubles coming up. So you've got yourself a good bench boost set of keepers. Or what you could do is bring in a keeper that doubles in game week 34 and then make one of those transfers for a second keeper closer to game week 37 or bring in Petrovic when Chelsea have the back-to-back double game weeks. But I like the keepers. Bradley, good pick for game week 34. I think he should just about survive up until then whilst Trent is coming back. Gusto, good budget pick. Chelsea with plenty of doubles coming up. Gabriel, good pick. Lascelles, if he can, definitely get in the side. I know there's the injury to Botman and we all think Lascelles will come back in. Then yes, that could be a good option. Udogie, I like. Saka, I like. Foden and Salah, Palmer, Son. Muniz, Darwin, Haaland with 0.1 in the bank. I like all of that. It reads well. And I think it's going to give you transfers in game week 31, 32, 33, and 34. So that's 4 transfers, which can give you even more double game week players for game week 34 if needed. So very strong wild card there. I think 8 Nori from Wolves is a pretty decent pick as well. Maybe ahead of someone like the Cells possibly. But it obviously depends if you want to double up on that Newcastle or not. But I think Wolves, strong team. They double in 34. Good fixture next week away to Burnley. And when Wolves do end up having home games, he does attack very well at his price point. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid wild card as well. And I do like the front 3. And again, somewhere like game week 34, you might want to be taking out Haaland for a week and bringing in maybe Solanke. And you can potentially bring in an Eze in midfield for Son for that game week as well. Of course, you probably need to bring Son back in because Spurs are going to be doubling a couple of times. Wing, welcome to the stream, mate. Great to see you in the comments. You've done your transfers already, and he just doesn't know whether to captain Salah or Son. I'm thinking Salah. You know what? If I had Salah in my team, he'd be my captain this week. I think home game, he's fully rested. He's at Anfield. Doesn't have the best record against Brighton at home, but he did get a double-digit score in the reverse. And I think that's just such a good option if Salah's in your team to captain him this weekend. On the flip side, Son's got a Luton team who are absolutely decimated. But at the same time, we just don't know if he's going to be centre forward or on the left, depending on if Richarlison is in the team. And if he does end up starting on that left, it can weaken his potential with Richarlison. It was completely different when Harry Kane was there because of the level of player Harry Kane was. But when Kane's not there and Son's out on that left, he's kind of providing that playmaking for Richarlison, whereas previous it was the other way around. Where Kane was doing that for Son. So, I think if I had Salah, it'd probably be Salah. But a lot of people will be on Son this week. Yep, this is true. Son has travelled. He's played 2 games. Brighton, full of internationals. Salah is rested, and an rested Salah at Anfield is also very dangerous. So Sheffield United Fulham is the next fixture to cover off. I think Fulham will come out and win this, and it wouldn't put it past me if we see some big scores again from the likes of Muniz, maybe Iwobi, Robinson. Really good picks for wild carders this week. I know you don't get the doubles out of them, but Fulham, big win in game week 29. Sheffield United, I would not be looking at any of their players. I know they've got the double. Maybe you could eye up one of the keepers. They do get lots of saves. They've got Burnley in double game week 34, but again, Burnley will be looking to target that game as winning and attacking that game and scoring some goals as well. So for me, you've got the likes of Robinson and Muniz and Leno in that fixture, which look pretty good from a Fulham point of view. So we're going to Spurs versus Luton. I mentioned before, Luton have a lot of players out. One of those players is not apparently Doughty. He is supposed to be okay to play in this one. From Tottenham, I think the best assets obviously are Son, James Maddison, and either one of Udogie or Porro. I still think if it's from now to the end of the season, I think Porro still remains the better option. Bit more attacking upside, has a good delivery into the box as well. Has already shown he's got an eye for goal as well when need to be at times. So I still think he edges it if you're on that wild card. Udogie is a little bit cheaper if you are obviously budgeting, but I think Son, Maddison, and Udogie, or Son, Maddison, and Porro remain my favourite Spurs triple up. If you want to try something different, Kulusevski is always an option, but he is very patchy. I wouldn't be aiming for any Luton players. I think the Morris train is well and truly gone. Barkley and Doughty, they'll probably have their moments this season, but I think, time's up with those Luton assets. And I think Spurs will win this game by 4 goals to 0. And I think Fulham will win their game by 3 goals to 0. So we'll go into Villa versus Wolves. We've got some good people in the stream. So if you are watching, please subscribe to the channel. Give the video a like. Jump on if you're watching on Twitter as well. Jump on here and subscribe. Get a question in. Or if you are watching on Twitter, please retweet and ask a question. I'm going to go onto my Twitter now and just see. We've had a follow, which is awesome. But we've not had any questions that have come in from Twitter. So, please get them in if you are watching on there. We've got quite a few in there from Twitter. So, please just jump on and ask a question. Villa versus Wolves. Good game for FPL, I think, because there's people out there with Nori, like me. I'm going to have him in my team. Attacking option. Don't think they keep a clean sheet, but he is always getting forward. He's almost playing as a left winger for Wolves at times. Villa, Ollie Watkins remains in most of our teams. This game, I think it was last season, was it, where it was 2-0 down for Wolves. They won 3-2. It was an absolutely incredible game. It was either last season, the season before. I think it was last season. And there's always a lot of goals in these sort of Midlands derbies. So, big game from an FPL point of view. I think play Watkins, play Nori as well. And just go for it with these Villa assets. If you've still got the likes of Leon Bailey as well, put him in your lineup for this game. I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. I think Wolves are going to scrap something from this one. So Brentford versus Manchester United. Another big game for FPL managers. There's a lot of managers who kept hold of Tony. They had him in their teams for game week 29. He disappointed with 1 point and a yellow. But he does like big games. He is on pens. He could come out and grab the goal in this one. And Mbeumo is fully fit again and likely to start. And we saw how good he was at the start of the season. So definitely a couple of players to target in this one. Manchester United, I think it could be a good game for Garnacho. Maybe even the likes of Bruno Fernandes. He's actually got a good record against Brentford. Got a double-digit score at this stadium a couple of seasons ago as well. So I think Garnacho owners probably going to look to play him this week. And I think Man United will go and attack this one, and they'll counter-attack it well. I think they'll get the win. I'm going to go Man United to come away with a 3-1 win in this one. So here are the last two fixtures of the game week. Massive fixtures for the title race, for FPL, for plenty of other factors in there as well. Liverpool versus Brighton. De Zerbi's got a good record against Liverpool so far. I think his football style complements Brighton well against some of the bigger sides. They retain a lot of the ball. They move it well. At the same time, will they be quite open? Will they be quite vulnerable? Could be a good game for Salah. Double-digit score in the reverse leg. Could be a good game for Darwin Núñez as well. He missed the international break. It was as a precaution, but he's expected to be back and fit to start this game as well. So definitely play Salah and look to captain him if you own him, in my opinion. Play Darwin. Connor Bradley as well. Put him in your lineup. I think this game is going to be very open and entertaining. I'm going to go for a 3-2 Liverpool with goals from Salah, Darwin, and maybe an assist or two from Connor Bradley. I think we're going to see some good scores on this Sunday of matches in this big title race Sunday, with Manchester City playing Arsenal. Massive for FPL. And what normally happens in these big games is people look at their team and they think, I've got 3 City, I've got 3 Arsenal. What do I do? Who do I play? They get stuck. But just remember, players can still score points in big games. We've seen it happen so many times. Don't miss out on points just because they come up against each other. We'll go through this question from Jared in a second. But say City and Arsenal, play Foden, play Saka. Like I mentioned earlier, Saka will play. Arteta's just mind games for him. We all know Saka's going to play. City will prepare to be playing against Saka as well. But you play him, you play Foden, you play Haaland if he's in your team. Look, if you've got 2 Arsenal defenders, you might not want to play both, but there's no harm in playing someone like Gabriel. We've seen what a massive set-piece threat he is. City have conceded quite a few from corners and set pieces this season. Gabriel's always finding his head on the end of these free kicks and corners as well. So don't be scared to play these players if you don't have any other defensive options. Jared has asked, if you had to play one out of Gabriel or White, which would you go with? A lot of people would probably say White because he's at right back. He gets forward. He's got the opportunity to put those balls in the box, which is true. But I just think with City's vulnerability on set pieces and free kicks that we have seen this season, I think Gabriel is just, it feels like every time Arsenal get a corner, he is going to find his head on the end of it, either him or Saliba, and it normally ends up being him. So with that in mind, I think if I owned either of them, it would probably, Gabriel would edge it for me based on the corners and how good Arsenal are at them. Tough game to predict. Last season, Arsenal fell apart in this game. City were absolutely brilliant in this game. But I feel like it could be a little bit different this year. I think this year, Arsenal will stay in this game. They'll play their football. They'll be ready for it. And I think it's tough. I want to say 2-2. Either a City win or a 2-2. I think it's one of those stadiums. Mentally, Arsenal have struggled in down the years, and those fixtures. But I think they can get something out of it. So I'm going to go 2-2, and we could see attacking returns from Saka, Foden, Ødegaard, Haaland. Goals from set pieces in big games are constant. So you've got likes of Gabriel as well. So I think this is going to be a really exciting game for FPL and obviously for the Premier League as well. So we'll stop sharing screen there. If you've got any questions, keep them coming in. We're 17 minutes from deadline. I'm going to hop onto the FPL app again, which I'd obviously just stopped sharing. But I'm going to go on there to share. Let's share. Do we want to bother with fantasy challenge? That's the thing. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about the fantasy challenge, or you want me to share my fantasy challenge team. I just don't really think there's much point. It all just seems like same. There's not really a huge amount of excitement with the fantasy challenge for me. I just don't see it as a really interesting game at all, to be honest. I've set a side up, but again, I don't know. It's just seems like something I don't need to worry about right now in Gameweek 30. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. If I go onto the FPL app now, they've obviously got the challenge section. I did do a short on this as well, so go check it out if you want. If I go manage team, Leno, Castagna, Pedro, Porro, Udogi, Awobi, Son, Madison, Palmer, Nicholas Jackson, Muniz, Solanke, Kelleher, Bradley, Robinson, and Foden in my team. I'm still not 100% sure how it's all going to work with this side, and with bringing players in and bringing players out. I'm just not as excited for it as probably what other people are. But yeah, if it's a game that interests you, let me know in the comments. But looking at this side, I'll say Nicholas Jackson is a potential good pick this week at home to Burnley. He could be someone to keep an eye on from now until the end of the season as well, especially with these double game weeks that are coming up for Chelsea. But yeah, get your questions in. If we don't get anything in the next couple of minutes or so, then that will likely be the end of the stream as well. Otherwise, we like to just stay in all the way till deadline. We've just had another subscriber, so I really appreciate that subscribe. So please subscribe, like the video. If you haven't done, if you're one of the watchers right now from YouTube and you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button if you can. I'll go through some differentials. Why not? If we're not going to get questions in right now, I'll go through some differential picks for you all that I like for this game week. Let's bring my captain. So mine is Son, but that's because I don't have Salah. So I think for me, it's got to be Son as my captain. Cole Palmer's my vice captain. And the only reason I don't have Salah, unfortunately, is because I brought Son in this week when I wanted to have him weeks ago, and I'd already made a defensive transfer. I just not feeling taking a -8 this week. So yeah, it's going to be Son. I see a lot of people going on to the Salah pick, and fair enough for those. I think he's a very strong pick for this game week. So we'll go through to my differential picks. I'll go onto my Twitter thread. So if you don't follow me on Twitter, give me a follow at FPLMattDay. So I've said my differentials are Muniz, who I spoke about earlier. Let's see what his ownership is now, because it was 5.5% when I mentioned him as a differential. His ownership has now gone up to 7.3%. So he's still a differential. So Muniz is a differential this week away to Sheffield United. Gusto from Chelsea playing home to Burnley. Currently sitting at, I believe, 4.2 million. Still 4.2 million. He's 10.3% owned. So when I said he was a differential, he was 7.5% owned. So a lot of managers are getting onto him. So it must be those wild cards. And then Ryan 8 Nori from Wolves. He was 2% owned when I suggested him as a differential. He is now 2.3% owned. So he's another one to keep tabs on. But we are in the last 13 minutes until deadline. So you need to just ask questions, get them in, like the stream, subscribe if you're new. And now it is question time only. Garnacho or Muniz, who to bench? It has to be Garnacho from those two. Muniz has Sheffield United away. His form is just unbelievable at the moment. He's obviously a forward. So it has to be Garnacho on the bench. I still think Garnacho can have a good game week this week, but yeah, if you're a Muniz owner, you've got to start him this week. Munoz from Palace. I've seen his name floated around a bit. We'll jump into some of his stats so far. I'll just quickly pull up his details. So he's a £4.5 million pound defender. He obviously got the 4 points against Luton in the last game week, 7 points when they drew at home to Burnley. Forest away, Bournemouth home. I think if he's on a wild card, especially with that double game week in 34, at that price, I think he's a great pick, mate. He's a great pick. Differential as well. So yeah, not a bad option, especially on a wild card. Does Rico Lewis likely to start? Tough one from City. I think Kyle Walker's now said he's okay to play, and it was a precaution. Oh, I had to sneeze. Sorry, everyone. So I think he's okay. But we'll go into the defenders from City. Oh, hamstring injury. Sorry. I must have misread something on Twitter before that said Walker was fine and it was all false him coming at the England squad. But yeah, hamstring injury. Sorry. That's poor from me. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past me looking at this if they go, but maybe they might put a Kanji on that side. Ake in the middle with Ruben Diaz and Garvidal on the other side is what I'm thinking. So I just wouldn't bet on it. Although Garvidal, I don't know why, he's just not played in weeks. I know he's had injuries and other problems, but yeah, I don't know what's going on there. Or bench Saka instead. Oh, tricky. If you're not worried about the fact that Saka's got such high ownership, then I think Garnacho will outscore Saka this game week. I'd back the home player, so Dubravka for me. Areola, though, gets plenty of saves. And if both teams do score a goal, then I'd probably say Areola might just about beat Dubravka's score based on the amount of save points he gets as well. Best 4.2 million defender option. Well, my first thoughts is Gusto when I hear that, but I'm going to go down to the 4.2 million option now and just have a read of some others that I like. Connor Bradley, double game week 34, Liverpool option. Braithwaite as well, double game week 34 from Everton. Burnley as well in game week 32. Gusto, he's got the most double game weeks to come, I think, for the rest of the season with Chelsea. So he's someone, if you're on a wild card, you can even bring him in at a later date for those doubles if you really want. I think for now, if you don't have Connor Bradley, I think he's a great pick, followed by Gusto as well in there. And then Braithwaite as well, I think is a really good bargain buy. But I'd probably put Bradley as the number one. So we're 9 minutes till deadline. We've got some good watchers on YouTube, which is awesome. So get your questions in. Please like this stream. If you're watching right now, like the stream. Subscribe as well if you're new. Demi Lola, welcome to the stream, mate. Bench one, Saka, Bowen, or Gordon. Again, that's tough. If you're not worried about the fact that Saka's so highly owned, then I would start Bowen and Gordon and hope that, although it's the early game, I hope that the early game is a goal fest. But if you're a little bit worried, it would have to be Saka and Gordon for me this week, mate. Tough because we know how good Bowen can be, but he's not had the form lately. And Gordon is brilliant at St. James's Park. 8 minutes till deadline. Thanks to everyone that's tuned in so far tonight. It's been really good to have you all on the stream. Remember, there's lots of videos every week that come out and shorts. So thanks to everyone that supported the channel so far. I think I might just stay on that little bit longer as well. I was going to wrap up the stream, but we're getting some new viewers in. Great to see some new names in the comments and some new questions. Let's have a look to see if there's any late injury news. Have a look online now. I can't see anything. I can't see anything that's too, I guess, groundbreaking. I don't think that we don't already know. So I wouldn't be too worried right now. Just had a question coming from headliners. I'll bring that one up in a second. Is Robinson a good wildcard pickup? I think it is for this game week. Good price as well. Doesn't have the doubles, but if you're not too concerned about having a full squad of doubles for game week 34 in the later game weeks, and I think Robinson is a very good pick. We've seen how attacking he is and how good Fulham look. I'm just having a look now to see if there's any late news, and I'm waiting for questions that come in the last 5 minutes of deadline here as well. That may come in. Zaber, welcome to the stream, mate. Maguire or Gabriel? Tricky because Maguire's awful and Gabriel is such a big set piece threat. But as bad as Maguire can be, he's also a set piece threat. I'd have to say, if you back the fixture, it's Maguire. Keep your questions coming in. 6 minutes till deadline as well. Harvey United, welcome to the stream, mate. Would you take a -8 to bring in Gusto, Salah, and Bradley for Saliba, Foden, and Doughty? Tough. Definitely need Doughty out, mate. Definitely need Doughty out. So I would say get one of Bradley or Gusto in. Keep Saliba if you can, mate. They've got a good game week next week and a double in 34. And if you've already got Son as captain, I don't think you necessarily need to dispose of Foden just yet. See if you can find a way for Salah next week instead. That's what I would do. List out the defender to target for game week 30 to 34. Really like Ryan Aitnori from Wolves. I think he's a very good one to target, especially because he's double game week 34. Braithwaite as well from Everton. We had a good one earlier. Munoz from Crystal Palace as well. I think is really good. Connor Bradley is worth looking at. These are all players I would look to target if you don't own one of Gabriel or Saliba as well, because Arsenal double in 34 and they got a great fixture next week as well. Anytime, mate. And again, a few new faces in the comments. It's absolutely brilliant to see. So yeah, it's really given me the energy to keep doing the live streams. Obviously, had a little bit of a break from live streams. I did do game week 29. I had a little bit of a break before. I was away and I was just doing my videos. So yeah, if you've enjoyed the stream and you are new here, just let me know in the comments. It'll be awesome. And also subscribe and like the video if you're new here as well. Yeah, great to see all these new people in there asking questions and enjoying Fantasy Premier League as well. 3 minutes till deadline. Make sure your transfers are in and your captains are locked in as well. So make sure it's all ready to go. I'll talk it through again for me. Son is the best captain with Salah and Palmer. But if I was a Salah owner, I would probably captain him based on the fact that his ownership's a lot lower and you've got a great chance to gain with Salah. But if you don't have him, then you probably then just captain Son. But if you've only got one or the other, I think they're both going to have a pretty good game. So don't stress too much. It is just a game at the end of the day. But yeah, 3 minutes, questions, keep them coming in if you have any. I'll just check the Twitter now just to see if there's any late transfers. Doesn't look like there's been any big injury news that are popping up then. All seems pretty straightforward to me. It's very good to have a full week of classic FPL, I think, this week. Marcus is in from Twitter. This is what we want. We want questions coming in from Twitter, and also jump onto the YouTube and subscribe as well. Which two do I start out of? Ake, Zabrinya, Gabriel, and Tarkovsky. I would start Zabrinya And let's go. Oh, that's tricky. I've literally got 2 minutes to answer for you. Let's go Zabarny from, I can't even pronounce the name, sorry, the Bournemouth defender. And we'll go for Ake, because I think you pretty much are picking one from each team in the hope that both home teams keep a clean sheet. Salah, but captain Son for the laughs. Thanks for the advice, Matt. Great stream again. Take care. Thanks, mate. Great to see you in the stream. Plenty of great questions from you. Morris Sumanese for a -4. Why not? Morris is an absolutely useless FPL asset, so I would do it. Yeah, good choice, mate. It's hard. You could split it down the middle, because you could even back Tarkovsky over Bournemouth. Everton might steal it 1-0 and he might grab something. But on the flip side, you might as well back the home teams, and you could end up seeing draws, in goal scoring draws in both. It's tough. We're getting very close now to deadline. Make sure your teams are in 20 seconds. I'm quickly double checking my team to make sure it's done. Pretty happy with what I've got. I had to take a -4 this week. 8 Nori come in. Matt Cash, who was an absolute terrible defender for my team, finally left. And then I brought Son in. Bit late for Son. I wanted to bring him in a few weeks ago, but he's now in, and deadline has passed. I took Bowen out, by the way, for that hit. That's who come in. But deadline's passed. Great stream tonight, everyone. If you've got any other quick questions that you want to ask, whether it's obviously deadline's gone, but if you've got questions for game week 34, which is double game week, wildcard questions, chip strategy questions, get them in the comments now. I will stay on for another 60 seconds to see if any of those types of questions come in. If not, good luck, everyone, for the game week. Hope it's a good one. If you're playing Fantasy Challenge, then yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Be interesting to hear what people's thoughts are. I entered a team for it. I'm not really too bothered by it. I've kind of just, yeah, I've got very little interest in it, but we will see. We will see how it goes. It looks like we're not going to get any sort of chip questions, wildcard, future transfer questions coming in. So we will look to end the stream. I think a lot of people started to leave the stream as deadline come in. So let's leave it there. I want to thank everyone that has tuned in from YouTube, everyone that's tuned in from Twitch, and everyone that's tuned in from Twitter. Some very good watchers this week. If you have tuned in from Twitter, be sure to follow me on there. Jump onto my YouTube at FPLMattDay and give me a follow. Everyone that follows me from this YouTube video on Twitter, follow me, shoot me a message and let me know you followed me from Twitter based on this YouTube video, and I will follow you back as well. I'm FPLMattDay. Let's leave it there. Thanks to everyone that's tuned in. Good luck again, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.